The 2026 NFL season is fast approaching, as all 32 teams are now getting their rosters reloaded with talent, new offensive schemes, and defensive schemes. Each NFL team has drafted new rookie talent from college and has signed and traded for a good number of veterans to improve their rosters. However, each team may have overpaid for certain talent instead of addressing other needs to fix or improve their rosters, or maybe taking massive dead cap hits when releasing a guy who failed to live up to expectations. So today, we're going to take a look at every NFL team's worst contract right now for 2026. Without further ado, let's dive right into it. Arizona Cardinals, signing Jeremiah Love to a 4-year, $53 million deal. The Cardinals drafted Love with the third pick of the 2026 NFL Draft and signed him to a 4-year, $53 million deal, which is extremely questionable, as Love hasn't even taken a snap in the NFL yet. Love had back-to-back 1,000-yard rushing seasons at Notre Dame, but the signing is a major risk, as the Cardinals could have used that money to address other needs on the team and are still paying money to coaches and players who are no longer with the team. Atlanta Falcons taking on the dead money hit from the Kirk Cousins contract. The Falcons are taking a $35 million hit in dead cap money for the next 2 seasons because of Cousins. He did show flashes during his time in Atlanta, but was mostly inconsistent. This money could have been used to sign other talent the roster really needed, like signing a WR2 to complement Drake London. Baltimore Ravens, Marlon Humphrey's contract from 2020. Although Humphrey signed his 5-year, $97.5 million extension back in 2020, it is considered one of the worst contracts the Ravens have, as his production has really declined in recent years, and he currently carries a cap hit of $26 million. Humphrey will be 30 before Week 1 kicks off, and cornerbacks and safeties typically slow down at that age. The Ravens could have just used some of that money to address the issue long ago by signing a more talented offensive lineman. Buffalo Bills signing Bradley Chubb. The Bills signed Chubb to a 3-year, $52 million deal, even though he hasn't made a Pro Bowl since 2022. The move is very questionable, as Chubb's production declined in 2025, and he's also been very injury-prone, as he missed the entire 2024 season with a torn ACL that he suffered at the end of the 2023 season. The Bills could have just spent less money on Chubb and used some of that money to address other significant areas of need during the 2026 offseason. Carolina Panthers, Jalen Phillips, massive deal. The Panthers signed Phillips to a 4-year deal, $120 million. This has been viewed as a massive overpay for a guy who has had injury problems and hasn't had a double-digit sack season yet. On top of that, the money used in Phillips' deal could have been used for other needs, like a deep threat wide receiver for Bryce Young to work with. Chicago Bears, Dayo Odeyingbo's deal. Odeyingbo signed a massive 3-year, $48 million deal back in the 2025 season, and he has not lived up to this contract, as he has had 21 tackles, a pass deflection, and a sack in 8 games. If Odeyingbo doesn't rebound in the 2026 season, the Bears would likely cut him and absorb dead money penalties, which could hurt the team moving forward in 2027. Cincinnati Bengals, Boye Mafe's deal. The Bengals signed Super Bowl 60 champion Boye Mafe to a 3-year, $60 million deal, with many saying that it's a bit of an overpay for a guy who wasn't a starter and had only 2 sacks in the 2025 season. The Bengals could have just signed Mafe for a whole lot less and used that money from his contract for other defensive needs like secondary depth. Cleveland Browns, Deshaun Watson's contract. So far, Watson's contract continues to be the worst contract for the Browns, which features an $80 million cap hit if they decide to cut or trade him. Watson's on-field play has declined ever since he was traded to the Browns in 2022, and he hasn't gotten any better. 2026 will likely be Watson's last chance in Cleveland, as the team must be prepared to take the cap hit after the season concludes. Dallas Cowboys, Dak Prescott's current contract. Prescott signed his current extension back in 2024. However, it features a massive $74 million cap hit for the upcoming 2026 season, which will hurt the team down the road. They won't be able to build around him long-term, keeping the team in a middle-of-the-road position instead of competing for a championship. Denver Broncos re-signing Alex Singleton. The Broncos re-signed Alex Singleton to a 2-year, $15.5 million extension, even though his production has declined in recent years. Singleton may have led the team in tackles in 2025 with 135, but he has a high missed tackle tackle rate at 8.2% and has shown limitations in the pass rush. Plus, he's going to be 33 by the end of the 2026 season. Detroit Lions signing Cade Mays. This signing is a low-risk move, but he isn't a true franchise starter, as he started in 27 of the 52 games that he played for in his career. He started in 12 out of 14 games for the Carolina Panthers during the 2025 season. So while Mays is good in pass protection, he struggled as a run blocker in 2025, receiving a 58.5 grade on Pro Football Focus for his struggles, while having an overall grade of 62.4. Mays is not the long-term solution for the Lions offense. They need a true veteran center leading that offensive line beyond 2026. Green Bay Packers re-signing Sean Rhyan. Similar to the Lions, the Packers had issues at center, but they chose to re-sign Sean Rhyan to a 3-year, $33 million extension, even though he has struggled throughout his career, and he only started 27 of 48 games. Rhyan also had a grade of 59 from Pro Football Focus and is ranked 31st out of 40 centers due to struggles in pass protection, allowing 27 pressures in the 2025 season. Houston Texans re-signing Ed Ingram. The Texans re-signed guard Ed Ingram to a 3-year, $37.5 million extension, but some see this as a bit of an overpay for a guy who has been inconsistent with pass protection in the past. The deal also restricts the Texans from signing another need at the offensive line, even though Ingram had a kinda decent 2025 season. The Texans are making a gamble on whether Ingram's 2025 season was real or just a mirage. Indianapolis Colts, Daniel Jones's $88 million extension. Daniel Jones signed a massive 2-year, $88 million extension after playing well for the Colts before his 2025 season ended with a torn Achilles. The extension has been called the worst contract of the 2026 offseason due to the huge risk, as Jones is still recovering from said Achilles injury, and there is no telling whether he'll replicate the success that he had from 2025 into the upcoming regular season. Jacksonville Jaguars retaining Walker Little. The Jaguars re-signed Walker Little to a $40 million extension back in 2024, and recently moved him to offensive guard, where he struggled, allowing 47 total pressures in the 2025 season. Walker's salary put the Jaguars in a tight spot, as it has a 14.49 cap hit, which hurts the team from signing other significant needs like adding a new running back or finding a more talented offensive lineman. Kansas City Chiefs, Chris Jones's extension from 2024. Chris Jones is the defensive anchor for the Chiefs, but his $158.75 million extension that he signed in 2024 is really hurting the team from signing strong Pro Bowl caliber safeties, as the team has to deal with his $44.85 million cap charge. Cutting or trading Jones won't help, as the Chiefs would take a $64 million dead cap hit, which of course would further prevent them from building long-term success. Regardless, the Chiefs will find a way to be successful in the 2026 season. We all know it. Las Vegas Raiders signing Tyler Linderbaum. The Raiders made a huge splash in free agency, signing center Tyler Linderbaum to a 3-year, $81 million deal to bolster their offensive line for either Kirk Cousins or Fernando Mendoza. However, critics say the Raiders overpaid for Linderbaum, and his contract occupies about 8.5% of the 2026 salary cap, as the contract looks to be a bit of an overpay. Because, I mean, seriously, they could have signed him for a little bit less. Los Angeles Chargers signing Charlie Kolar. Looking to add some more pass catchers, the Chargers signed Charlie Kolar to a 3-year, $24.3 million deal, even though his statistical numbers have been pretty low in the few seasons that he's been in the NFL. The guy's more of a run blocker. He provides little to the passing attack. I mean, Kolar only scored 2 touchdowns with the Baltimore Ravens in 2025. The Chargers did sign David Njoku to a 1-year deal, and he put up much better numbers than Kolar did. Los Angeles Rams, Devontae Adams 2-year deal from 2025. Adams is a talented game-changing wide receiver who puts it all on the line. However, he'll be 34 by the end of the 2026 season, and the team will take a $28 million cap hit from his 2-year deal, making him the second highest paid player on the roster, even if he remains productive. The Rams could have used some of this money in Adams' contract to sign some younger Pro Bowl caliber receivers who are maybe just getting into their prime or maybe are already in their prime. Miami Dolphins signing Malik Willis. After the Dolphins took on the cap hits from Tua Tagovailoa, Bradley Chubb, and Tyreek Hill, they decided to sign Malik Willis to a 3-year, $67 million deal, which, that is a lot of money for a guy who was a backup quarterback. Yeah, sure, Willis will be coached by former Packers head coach Jeff Hafley and offensive coordinator Bob Slovic, but he remains unproven and has very limited success, which very likely will not be replicated in South Beach. Minnesota Vikings, TJ Hawkinson's contract. Hockenson signed a 4-year, $63.5 million extension during the 2023 season and has seen a decline in production ever since. Injuries have affected Hockenson's performance in recent years, and he has not had a season where he topped 900 yards since 2023. The Vikings restructured his contract, which lowered the cap number to $5 million. The deal remains to be a massive financial commitment for a guy whose production has seriously dipped. New England Patriots signing Julian Hill. The Patriots didn't spend much on Julian Hill, as he signed a 3-year, $15 million deal with the team during the 2026 offseason. However, they are paying a decent amount to a guy who's more of a blocker than a pass catcher. Hill hasn't scored a touchdown in the regular season yet, and critics have said that this is an overpay for the Pats and that Hill's performance is inconsistent, as the man has drawn numerous penalties in the league. New Orleans Saints chase Young's $51 million deal. Young signed a massive 3-year, $51 million deal with the Saints in the 2025 offseason. But it's still a risky deal, as Young has had injury problems throughout his career. He missed the first 3 games of the 2025 season with a calf injury, but had 10 sacks to end the year. On top of that, the deal has a cap hit of $9.6 million, which maybe could have been used on other defensive talent who have proven to stay healthy. New York Giants, Darius Slayton's contract. Slayton signed a 3-year, $36 million deal with the G-Men in the 2025 offseason, and he's yet to live up to expectations, catching only 37 receptions for 538 yards and scoring 4 touchdowns in 2025. Slayton hasn't had a season where he's topped 700 yards since 2023, and the Giants would have a $15.9 million cap hit if they chose to release him, making things even tougher to sign younger talent. New York Jets, Garrett Wilson's $130 million extension. Wilson's 4-year, $130 million extension, which he signed back in the 2025 offseason, has proven to be disappointing so far. He underperformed in the 2025 regular season, where he caught 36 receptions for 395 yards and didn't score any touchdowns. On top of that, Wilson was on injured reserve due to a knee sprain, and that huge contract limits the Jets from signing additional talent to fill significant holes on the roster for the upcoming season. Philadelphia Eagles, A.J. Brown's contract. Brown was frustrated with the Eagles during the 2025 season and will be likely traded out of Philadelphia before the start of the upcoming season, even though he signed a $96 million extension in 2024. However, trading Brown away leaves the Eagles with $16 million in dead cap money if the team trades him after June 1st. Over $16 million is a financial loss for the Eagles, which really hurts their ability to sign for other needs. Pittsburgh Steelers, T.J. Watt's $123 million extension. Watt signed a 3-year, $123 million extension in the 2025 offseason, which has a cap hit of around $42 million, making for a massive financial commitment for a guy whose stats have declined in recent years, thus making him one of the most overpaid Steelers. San Francisco 49ers, Brandon Ayuk's extension. Ayuk originally signed a 4-year, $120 million extension and suffered a torn MCL and ACL that year. Then he was placed on the PUP list and later on the reserve/left squad list. The contract is disastrous for the team, as it leaves them handcuffed to a $29 million dead cap hit, but that could be split to $13.35 million in 2026 and $21.247 in 2027 if Ayuk is traded or released after June 1st. Seattle Seahawks, Rashid Shaheed's extension. Although Shaheed is a special teams player, he signed a $51 million extension during the offseason, which is a lot for a guy with low-volume offense. Plus, committing that much money limits the team from paying core players to stick around or acquiring new talent. Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Cade Otton's extension. Otton recently signed a 3-year, $30 million extension with the Bucs and is looking questionable, as his receiving productivity does not reflect the value of the contract. He is not an elite receiving tight end. Tennessee Titans, Malonte Taylor's contract. Taylor signed a 3-year, $60 million deal with the Titans, which many are considering to be one of the worst during the offseason. Taylor has a high touchdown allowance in his previous years, giving up 14 touchdowns over the last 2 seasons. Washington Commanders, overpaying for Odafe Owe. Owe signed a huge 4-year, $100 million deal with the Commanders after a kinda decent season with the Chargers. However, many have been calling this signing one of the worst contract situations in the league, as the Commanders likely vastly overpaid for Owe's services, as he has only had 1 double-digit sack season, which was back in 2024. But hey, What do you think is the worst contract in the NFL this upcoming season? Let us know in the comment section below. If you like this video and learned a thing or two, then hey, clicking the like button helps us out a ton. And you know, we really appreciate it. If this is your first time coming around to TPS though, then subscribing is a great idea because we put out videos like this every single day. But as always, thanks for watching and we'll see you guys next time.